the lost link of our time. You've probably noticed it too. Something feels off. People are more connected than ever, yet somehow less human than ever. Emotions are louder, but empathy is quieter. Information is everywhere, but wisdom is rare. Everyone talks, but no one listens. And deep down, you sense the split, the fracture in the collective mind. This video is not about the news cycle. It's not about one tragic story circulating everywhere. It's about why stories like that keep happening, and why the world feels like it's slowly slipping out of itself. Because there is a missing piece, a link we quietly lost, a link that held society together without anyone noticing. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you truly felt someone? Not liked, not agreed, not reacted, but felt. If your mind took a second to search for an answer, congratulations. You're not numb. You're still here, and that already makes you rare. Here's why. We live in a time where people are overstimulated, but underexperienced. They feel everything and nothing at once. They scroll tragedy and comedy in the same breath. They treat real pain like background noise. They record what they should intervene in. They document instead of respond. Technology advanced. Humanity didn't follow. That's the fracture. That's the lost link. And if you've ever wondered, why does the world feel heavier even when my life is technically fine? This is why. Because consciousness doesn't evolve automatically. Phones get updates. People don't. While innovation sprinted forward, emotional maturity stayed frozen. While artificial intelligence became smarter, natural intelligence didn't become wiser. While tools multiplied, values evaporated. We built a world that runs faster than the human nervous system was designed to handle. And now everyone is overwhelmed, under-regulated, disconnected from meaning, operating in survival mode, not presence mode. When people lose their inner compass, they stop acting and start reacting. They stop perceiving and start projecting. They stop thinking and start copying whatever the feed shows them. And that leads us here, a society where tragedy becomes entertainment, empathy becomes optional, and consciousness becomes fragmented. But this is not a video to shame the world. It's a video to understand it. Because once you understand the fracture, you can move differently inside it. You can stay awake while others are sleepwalking. You can stay grounded while others are collapsing under their own noise. You can feel without drowning, think without freezing, and act without losing yourself. Now here's the uncomfortable part. This lost link isn't spiritual. It isn't mystical. It's psychological, neurobiological, social, real. People evolved to survive together, not perform together. We were designed for bonding, not broadcasting, to read each other's faces, not screens, to sense danger in the environment, not in the comment section, to build communities, not followers. But somewhere along the way, connection became content, presence became performance, attention became currency. So people stopped experiencing reality and started consuming it. That's why tragedies feel surreal, because they're not emotionally processed. They're visually registered. And when something is registered instead of processed, the nervous system doesn't understand what to do, so it dissociates, numbs out, or worse, adapts to the abnormal as if it were normal. This is why people stand still instead of acting, why they film instead of helping, why they judge instead of understanding, why they seek stimulation instead of meaning. The human mind is losing depth, but here's the twist. And this is where the cliff begins. Not everyone is losing it. Some people are waking up because the world is collapsing. Some people are seeing the fracture clearly. Some people are noticing what others can't. People like you. And if you're here, listening to this, it's because part of you already sensed that the world is not just changing, it's splitting. Between those who are evolving and those who are decaying. Between those who feel and those who have forgotten how. Between those who search for meaning and those who drown in noise. The question now is simple. Which side will you stand on? But don't answer yet. Because before we go there, and before I show you the actual link we lost, you need one more layer. A truth people avoid because it's uncomfortable. Humanity is not falling apart. It's being filtered. And the filter reveals who is awake, who is asleep, and who is pretending. In the next part, you'll understand why this filtration happens, what it does to the human psyche, and how to protect your consciousness inside a society that is dissolving in slow motion. This is not a message of despair. It's a message of clarity, and clarity is the antidote to chaos. Before you continue, pause for 2 seconds and breathe. Your mind will need space for what's coming next, because part 2 is where we go deeper into the mechanics of numbness, the collapse of empathy, and the truth about why only a small percentage of people stay awake in a sleeping world. If part 1 showed you the fracture, Part 2 shows you the mechanism behind it, because numbness doesn't appear overnight. It's not a moral failure. It's not a sign of cruelty. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's something simpler and far more dangerous. It's adaptation, a survival response disguised as apathy. Your nervous system has one main job: keep you alive, not happy, not fulfilled, not wise, just alive. And when the world becomes too loud, too fast, too chaotic, too overwhelming, your system does the only thing it can do. It shuts down the emotional channel to reduce the overload. That's why people scroll past tragedy as if it were fiction. That's why empathy feels optional. That's why reactions look cold. That's why attention is fragmented. Not because humans are evil, but because they're overstimulated to the edge of burnout. And here's the part most people ignore. The brain was not designed to witness global suffering in real time. It was made to process the pain inside a small village, not the pain of an entire planet. But today, the average person sees more tragedy in a week than someone in the 1600s saw in an entire lifetime. So the brain adapts. It creates emotional distance. It stops feeling everything to avoid feeling nothing but chaos. This emotional shutdown is not intentional. It's neurological. And the consequence is exactly what you see everywhere. People who are technically alive, but internally offline, present in body, absent in essence. They react, but they don't respond. They see, but they don't perceive. They exist, but they don't participate. Because their internal resources are depleted. Now, let's connect this to the deeper fracture. When overstimulation becomes normal, numbness becomes culture. People start to believe that not feeling is maturity, that not caring is intelligence, that staying detached is strength. But here's the truth. Detachment is only healthy when it's conscious. When it's a choice, when it's a defense mechanism disguised as personality, it becomes a prison. And most people today are not detached. They're exhausted, emotionally bankrupt, mentally saturated, spiritually dehydrated. And in that state, the world stops being meaningful and becomes tolerable, just something to survive. This is why you see people recording instead of helping, why they scroll past someone crying, why they mistake noise for relevance, why they treat reality like entertainment. They don't do it out of malice. They do it out of depletion. But here's the twist, and this is where your mind needs to zoom out. Not everyone collapses under overstimulation. Some people wake up because of it. Some people feel more instead of less. Think deeper, not weaker. Connect stronger, not colder. These are the outliers, the ones who notice the invisible patterns, the ones who still sense the world instead of consuming it. People like you. What makes you different isn't sensitivity, it's coherence. Your mind doesn't drown in information, it organizes it. Your emotions don't control you, they inform you. Your intuition doesn't confuse you, it orients you. You don't dissociate, you decode. That's the real lost link, the ability to sense with presence instead of reacting with overload. The world is full of inputs. Very few people can transform input into insight. Now here's the uncomfortable part, and it's where the human wave meets real psychology. Most people don't know themselves enough to regulate their own minds, so they outsource their attention, outsource their values, outsource their reactions, outsource their emotional compass. This is how consciousness collapses, when you let the outside world think for you, feel for you, choose for you. And when a society reaches that point, it stops evolving and starts fragmenting. You can see it everywhere. People fight but don't think, criticize but don't understand, consume inspiration but don't transform, want meaning but reject silence, seek connection but avoid vulnerability. The modern mind wants everything, except the one thing that would save it: presence. Presence is the antidote to numbness. Presence is the reset button. Presence is the anchor the world lost. And presence is impossible without emotional awareness, something technology can't teach and society no longer models. But here's the good news, and it's where this video shifts direction. When systems collapse, the people who remain conscious become the architects of what comes next. Dark times don't destroy the awakened, they reveal them. And maybe that's why you're here, not by accident, not by curiosity, but because part of you knows the world is shifting and you refuse to shift with the numbness. Part 2 ends with a simple truth that sets the stage for Part 3. Humanity didn't lose the link. It disconnected from it, and the ones who reconnect first rebuild the path for everyone else. In Part 3, we go into the how to stay awake in a sleeping world, how to protect your mind, how to rebuild inner coherence, and how to become the living antidote to a culture dissolving into noise. If the world feels louder, if people feel colder, if everything seems faster but nothing feels deeper, it's not because life lost meaning. It's because most people lost connection. not Wi-Fi connection, not social connection, not digital connection. Inner connection, the link between mind, emotion, perception, and presence, the link that makes a people actually awake. So here's the truth no one wants to admit. You don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more noise disguised as inspiration. You need coherence, a system that matches what you think, what you feel, what you choose, and what you do. That's the lost link. And this final part is about rebuilding it, not in a spiritual way, not in a mystical way, but in a psychological, grounded, rational way. Let's begin. 1. Reclaim your internal channel. When the world floods your senses, your first task is simple. Reduce the input, increase the perception. You don't need to isolate yourself. You don't need to escape the world. You just need to create one pocket of silence a day, even if it's 30 seconds. Silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the absence of interference. It's the moment when your system says, I'm online again. And from that silence, your ability to feel returns. Not emotional drama, not hypersensitivity. Just presence. Presence is intelligence. Presence is regulation. Presence is power. And presence is the one thing numbness fears. 2. Strengthen your emotional clarity. The modern world confuses emotion with fragility. It's the opposite. Feeling is not weakness. Feeling is data. Anger is a boundary alert. Sadness is a recalibration. Fear is a prediction mechanism. Joy is system alignment. When you treat emotions as signals instead of threats, you stop being a prisoner of your reactions and become the architect of your responses. This is the shift numb minds can't make. This is the shift awakened minds master. 3. Learn to process instead of absorb. Most people absorb the world like a sponge. They feel everything without understanding anything. And that overload becomes numbness. But you don't absorb, you decode. And here's how you refine that skill. Before reacting to anything, ask one simple question. Is this mine? Most thoughts aren't yours. Most emotions aren't yours. Most pressures aren't yours. Most fears aren't yours. They come from algorithms, timelines, expectations, projections, and a culture that lives on autopilot. When you separate what belongs to you from what belongs to the noise, you free your system from contamination. This is the foundation of emotional autonomy, and the world desperately lacks it. 4. Build a moral compass based on logic plus empathy. Here's a truth people ignore. A society collapses from the inside when logic and empathy stop working together. Logic without empathy becomes cruelty. Empathy without logic becomes chaos. The awakened mind needs both. You think clearly, you feel accurately, you choose consciously. That's what creates moral coherence. Not rules, not dogmas, not fear, coherence. The inner alignment between I understand, I care, and I act. The world doesn't need more opinions. The world needs more coherent minds. 5. Remember, consciousness expands through individuals, not crowds. Humanity never evolves as a whole. It evolves through the few who awaken first. One coherent mind influences 10 incoherent ones. One person who feels with depth changes a room. One person who sees clearly breaks the illusion for everyone else. This is why your clarity matters more than you think. You're not here to save the world. You're here to stay awake inside it. And that alone creates impact. People forget this because they think transformation happens collectively. No, it happens individually. Then it spreads. Awakened presence is contagious. Depth is contagious. Truth is contagious. And in a world built on numbness, clarity becomes rebellion. 6. And now, the real pivot of this video. The lost link of our time is not technology. It's not culture. It's not distraction. It's not the decay of society. The lost link is the human ability to remain conscious inside a world designed for unconsciousness. And the ones who rebuild that link become the new reference point. They show others how to feel without drowning, how to think without freezing, how to act without collapsing, how to care without breaking. Awakening isn't poetic, it's practical, it's grounded, it's human, and it begins with one choice. I refuse to shut down, not because the world is beautiful, not because life is simple, not because people are always kind, but because staying conscious is how you honor the part of you that never went numb in the first place. That part is still here. You feel it, it never left. And now that you see the fracture, the numbness, the overload, the disconnection, you also see the path back. Presence, clarity, coherence, awareness. This is how you rebuild the lost link. And this is where the video ends. But your reflection begins. Because the question isn't, what's wrong with the world? The question is, who do you choose to be inside it? And if you're watching this, you already know the answer. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.